It was the 31st of October 1983 when singer Stacey Anderson and bass player Tommy Stewart bumped into guitarist Steve Shoemaker, commonly known as Skeletor, at a Halloween party. They decided to start a band together, aptly named Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve. They all had previous experience in playing in punk and hard rock bands, so they pretty quickly got some good songs together. Combining the loudest kind of thrash metal you could play in 1983 with a horror image inspired by Alice Cooper as well as movies and comic books. The first time I heard about Hallows Eve was on the compilation Metal Massacre 6. It included many great bands: Possessed, Hyrax, Martyr, Dark Angel, Nasty Savage. But Hallows Eve contributed my favorite track, Metal Merchants. Metal Blade soon signed the band for the debut album released in 1985, Tales of Terror. Tales of Terror, with a running time of less than 30 minutes, is actually consisting of 2 demos. Taking the old 3-song demo where Metal Merchants had been taken from, Hallows Eve recorded a new 5-song demo in a few days, and that was the album. The method of just go for it proved to be quite successful, and the record received great reviews. For example, Rock Hard Magazine number 13 wrote, "Due to the 84 demo, you could rightfully expect a lot from this LP. The 5 new songs completely fulfill my expectations. Highlight of the album is the 8-minute track Hallows Eve. With many good breaks, it would be worth the album price alone." 1986, the second album Death and Insanity followed. Skeletor had left, so the band continued as a 4-piece with only one guitarist. Death and Insanity has a simple concept behind the lyrics, which is to tell about death, death and more death. Musically, with great songs like the neck-breaking title track, Nefarious, or DIE Death in Effect, I like it almost as much as the first album, with only a few weak points. Lethal Tendencies sounds like a parody, not a serious song. Suicide is too much punk for my taste. Anyhow, it must be confessed that the press were not friendly at the time. I give you 2 quotes here.
"Not that it doesn't include some good tracks, but something is lacking, which was there on Tales of Terror. The playing's good, but the songs are weaker than I expected."
Hallows Eve's second work is just a typical US metal album. The originality is missing, as well as the speed in the second guitar, and the songs are not that good anymore. There are good attempts with Death and Insanity, Plea of the Aged, and DIE. But the rest is average.
Hallows Eve were a very busy live band at the time. There is no lack of bootleg recordings from the tours across US and Canada. Fortunately, we'd get to see and hear some of that in later years. First, in 1987, Hallows Eve released their 3rd album, Monument.
place where you dare not look.
Monument sounded more polished and groovy, not as mean and heavy as its predecessors, and thus it didn't really convince the fans. Especially the Queen cover Sheer Heart Attack felt out of place. The band obviously tried to grow up a bit with this record, but it didn't work. In an interview with That's It magazine many years later, Tommy described it as "we crossed borders and tried something different," which is a dangerous thing to do for any metal band. 1989, their singer Stacy left, and after some attempts to continue, the band broke up in the early 90s. In 2004, Tommy Stewart and Skeletor, who had been playing together in a death metal band called Les Trigos Nosferatus, decided to revive Hallows Eve. 2 new songs on a single received disastrous reviews though.
Without a doubt, Tales of Terror and Death and Insanity count among the best thrash metal albums ever, but the change of style in the 2 new numbers could hardly be more drastic. Uninspired death metal, that has absolutely nothing to do with the roots of the band.
If a bunch of 16-year-old black metalheads released this as their first demo, it would be okay because they don't know any better. But how somebody can release this after 20 years, and truly brilliant songs, I can't understand.
The band played small club gigs in the USA and one festival in Europe, but the crowds were underwhelmed. Undeterred, Hallows Eve recorded a new album entitled Evil Never Dies. This is frankly an awful release that should be avoided. Still without a real singer, they tried to share vocals and put some death metal growls on mediocre demo songs. Needless to say, it failed to succeed. In 2006, Metal Blade re-released the 3 old studio albums as a double CD, History of Terror. Various live recordings from the 80s were combined to another double package on CD-DVD called Live Terror. The sales figures of the 4 discs must have been impressive because original singer Stacy, who, according to Tommy, had previously declined any interest in a reunion, now wanted to rejoin the band and make a new album.
When they said there's a storm inside my head, me out and they left me for dead. One more ride through my cursed forest, one more stand for me in darkness, never knowing what may lie ahead. Product of a world where I'm force-fed. One more ride through my cursed forest, one more stand for me in darkness.
The 5th album, The Neverending Sleep in 2008, was much better, like a cross between the 80s style of Hallows Eve and some more modern thrash post-90s, while also the slower parts were heavier than on Monument. Even if the sound quality left a lot to be desired, some songwriting qualities were returning. However, The Neverending Sleep sunk like a stone, almost unnoticed, and that was basically the end of Hallows Eve, even if they remained active a few more years. I think poor production, bad artistic choices, deficiencies in the promotion and management department, and a shrinking fan base all came together. Not to mention plain bad luck, such as the accidents that happened to their drummers. That part of the story reads a bit like Spinal Tap, except there was no case of spontaneous human combustion. Hallows Eve were certainly a band who should have been much bigger. Get Tales of Terror, play it loud, and hear for yourself.
Ha ha ha.